roof and replaced it.
Yeah.
And they had a guy to do it.
I
It was
thought-
gorgeous.
I thought that the original part of the building was staying. That, and that the new part was asphalt. I'm pretty sure I saw that the new part was asphalt in the
Yeah.
conceptual.
Oh, yeah, I was
That's how I remember.
curious, because I think the slate looks so pretty on the great stone dwelling.
I'm sure we'll be
It's cool.
going through a full.
But
Yeah,
I can't imagine doing that for a job, like those little hooks.
What is,
That's gotta be a 7 square word a day job. Like,
oh, at least.
all right, let's get
swearing
started.
up a storm doing that.
Okay,
Not
In the
tonight.
interest of time, I would ask that everybody try to keep their comments and questions on topic. Okay?
Yep.
Looks like our first hearing people are not here. So
Not yet.
let's go with the town.
You wanna beat me?
Brian Degnan is joining us virtually, but I think he's gonna have to cut out early, so. I think he's gonna watch.
So minutes taker, if you got that, Tim, has been seated by the chair for this hearing. Seating for the next hearing too, if we have it. Okay, Mr. Administrator, will you read the introduction to the second hearing?
Yes, this is land use case Z 22-10-02. The town of Enfield, New Hampshire is seeking variance relief from the Enfield zoning ordinance, Article 4, Section 408, signs to install and operate an LED message sign at the Enfield Community Building, 308 US Route 4, tax map 37, lot 34. Specifically, the request is to have messages that change on the sign more than once in a 24-hour period. Parenthetically, section D, paragraph 5, displayed message. And the town also wishes to display messages to the public for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Parenthetical, section D, paragraph 6 hours of illumination. The parcel in question is located within the CB Community Business District and is owned by the town of Enfield, New Hampshire, and representing the town will be Chief Roy Holland. Come on up here, Chief.
Hello, everybody. All right. I got,
Yeah, we got.
yeah, we,
yeah, there's some pictures.
He's got some new stuff.
Yeah, there's some
Oh,
other
good.
stuff on it, so.
oh, good.
Actually.
Yeah.
Answer my question.
You know what, Nick, this- you got nothing. Did we get one?
There's
Whitney
more
needs
in it.
one. Yes,
There
it
it
was Whitney.
Whitney?
Rob, you have the new packet?
Should be, he said.
So it's pretty much the same packet in the first 3 pages as you got in the application. The last 2 are just some pictures to kind of illustrate for you what it'll look like. If you look at the picture, it didn't come out as clear as I thought it did when I first printed it, but you can see where the 2 grade stakes are that are sitting in front of the marquee sign.
Mhm.
Those are where the 2 posts will be that are holding the new sign that'll be hopefully installed any day now. And then the second page is the sign itself. It's 120 inches tall, 99 inches wide. It is a 2-post with the top portion is non-lighted, welcome to Enfield. The watch fire part there, that is the LED display board that we were talking about, that we're asking for the variance so that it can change messages. This is a state-of-the-art LED display board that will has, I'm gonna butcher this word, but photo, whatever. Basically, it reads the light coming in and it adjusts its brightness based off of the light so that during the day, it doesn't use a lot of electricity. At night, it's built in so that it's not so bright that the drivers aren't blinded by the lights of the intensity of the board. It has the capability of remote access so that in cases of an emergency, for instance, a microburst like we had in 2006 or some of the other storms we had where we had to shut down certain roads, we would be able to remotely access this to let people know, hey, Route 4A is closed. There's a water main break on Livingston Lodge, so please use alternate route. Also, we would have the access to for the fire department to be able to put signs up there such as the You know,
Well, it's.
Wells Street is closed due to a fire, please use alternate route, stuff like that. When there's a impending storm coming in, right, for the 24 hours prior to that, we can put a message on there that says, prepare for, winter storm warning. When school gets closed, we can put the message on there, school's closed, in those nature. So as in the emergency management part, so I'm also the emergency management director for the town. This is a great resource for the town to be able to reach out to more people, especially even if I go back to when we were in COVID, trying to get the word out I used to get probably 100 calls a day about saying, hey, when's the next booster, when's the next vaccine clinic gonna be? We would have access to be able to change this sign. We've, as a group from the town, we've talked about it, our vision is to not put videos up there and stuff like that would be distracting to people driving by, but information that will make it, safer and more inform our community. In preparing for this and applying for the grant that paid for this, I looked and I contacted and spoke to our partners at New Hampshire Highway Traffic Safety and the National Highway Traffic Safety, and I could not find, with their help, I could not find any correlating research that showed that these specific signs added towards traffic crashes and stuff of that nature. I did find, for complete transparency, I did find one study that they were looking at that's still in place, it started in 2019, that the signs that go over freeways are more distracting, but they didn't have any correlation to the signs like this.
They're in front of police stations a lot.
Well,
And-
so that brings me to my local research. So the only two people that have something very much like this is Canaan PD and the school. Right, the school added theirs in the renovation. Canaan PD had theirs 5 years ago. I talked to Canaan PD and they have had 0 accidents that they can relate to the sign. And even though we all know the intersection issues at the high school, I talked to the state and to the Canaan about that, and none of them have directly been related to, I was looking at the sign, changing it or this or that. So I think that this is a great test case for our zoning to, for us to go forward, put the sign in, be able to change the signs. So I've timed it. I did it a dozen times just to see, coming from east to west, the drive time past where the sign will be is approximately 10 seconds. Coming the opposite direction, it's longer. It's about 14 to 16 seconds, just depending on, and regular, traffic passing. By no means are we proposing that we change the sign every 8 seconds or 4 seconds or something like that. I think initially we were talking about 25 to 30 seconds, which would be one sign per, say every other 3 or 4 cars that go through, but it would still allow a rolling sign to be able to put, right now the zoning only allows us to put one thing up there in a day. And I don't think that would be, the best interest of getting the information out for our residents.
Can I ask a question? Mr.
Please.
Chairman?
Thank you.
How tall is the sign above the ground?
120 inches total.
10 feet.
Yes.
Okay.
The top of the.
I
That's to the
passed
very,
the
very top.
Mascoma High School sign and I'm very distracted trying to read their plan.
So that's the whole sign. The sign display itself is 3 feet tall. And it is 7 feet wide.
Well, I want fewer words to
It-
read as I'm speeding
Yeah.
past.
No, and
One thing.
our sign, and I can tell you, and I'm not picking on the school by any means. So we went with a very high quality sign. So we actually brought the company out.
It lasts longer. That
And-
makes sense.
Absolutely, but it's not just last longer. We made sure so we brought the company out here and we went to where the sign was going to be put or very close to it. And they showed us the different qualities of what they could. And so the quality of what this sign is that we're putting up is a much higher quality than what you're seeing at the school. So it's going to be much easier to get sharper, to get what you're looking at as you're going by.
Okay, so now what's gonna happen to the things that are being advertised on the current sign? Or are there now 2 signboards?
No, the other one's going to go away.
So how are you gonna advertise the Lions Supper and the Halloween
So they would-
party and the?
Yep, so they would just coordinate with Elisa or then the PD, so they'll do
So
a
this will
process,
be
but
private use of a town sign that town money paid for.
yeah, Yeah, like if it was for an event,
But for
No, I
town,
meant-
but for town,
But other entities would be able to do that,
The ones
Like-
that are allowed to
the
put out
Enfield
there.
Market, things like that.
like civic things of
things
civic.
for the community, like community information, like it's not gonna be an advertisement for,
Jake.
right, don't, you know,
I mean,
buy.
that's the question businesses will have is, well, if they can do it, why can't I have one, right? So, and that's the issue is that we've told businesses no to this stuff in the
Yeah,
past.
we've been through that
The other-
last year.
the other-
And I mean, there are certain things like, I hear the community piece in particular, I know. I like the idea of the fire department, for example, being able to say, no burn, right?
Yeah,
No burn.
super.
Today's
That
burn
is,
level is such that,
this is like that kind of stuff I see absolutely is as very valuable. I know there's a sign real similar to this in, Pembroke Police Department. If you drive by there, it's a very high quality. I'm guessing it's probably the same folks and it's the same kind of setup and,
right,
I think that's kind of what they use it for. And that's,
Oh,
but I also see the value in where this would be. So that was my question was there would be non-town things on this.
Very limited.
Not,
Also.
Yeah.
when I say non-town, I mean non-government announcements.
Yeah.
But specifically non-government announcements.
I mean,
you say not, non-community.
The letters on the high school sign?
Probably do whatever you want.
Yeah, I think you could, these real nice ones, they probably have like 5 different fonts and stuff.
I do think it's important to point out that
Excuse me. Just a moment. Celia, what were you?
Not really, I wasn't. Um, you talk about that's the best, or that's the way that we're gonna get to the people. But that isn't, we're not gonna get to all the people. You wanna get people that are gonna be going by, drive on Route 4. I never drive down there.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't go on Route 4. I mean, most of the town doesn't. And I wanna add, which I'm very concerned by this, because we've had so much resistance from the public over the time and about the having these signs. And so I did look up on the computer
Mhm.
about digital signs and their safety. And I found so many, you say you only found one, but it's the way you put it in, I think. I found so many studies saying that the issue is the safety. And they found that it is not safe over and over and over again. And I can tell you one of the things side, if you want to know what it was transportation research is the one that I saw, multi-model transportation. It had several chapters to it, but I got it out of the Google thing, and it says driver inattention and distraction are recognized as the most critical factor of road safety worldwide, they say. Roadside advertising is after, it's a potential source of course, I can't read, distraction. Okay, yes, of course I can read. But so this is what I was seeing in the situation. I also think, when I came home tonight, I went down and I tried to come through that area and there's a lot of signage coming through. And it's a bad corner, we know that. You know, it's a bad place to put it, I think. So those are my concerns with it, because of that, and also I think we can get to the people through the internet. I mean, that's what everything you did with COVID. I got it all. It all went to the internet.
Yes,
Can I agree with Sealy?
yes.
What if, I think that's a lousy place, because there's that big hill coming down by Mickey's. And they're talking about, are they gonna put in a circle or a light by Jake's? What if you put it on Main Street by that big parking lot where the flag is? Where the residents that go through in fields see it? The traffic on Route 4 is just incredible, and it took me a minute to realize, oh yeah, it's Columbus Day. But there's so much through traffic, and I'm with you, Celie. I won't use Route 4. I go down Main Street or I come in around the lake, but I avoid that corner unless I am desperate to go to the post office. I never go that way.
I have a question, and that was, why that site? I mean, there was a sign there before, but is it one of those things where we just go, it was always there, so we put it there, or was there, I'd like to know your reasoning of that. And the other thing I was wondering about, I can't picture them off the top of my head, but isn't the one at the high school sort of have, lights and things? How, and some, I think the Canaan one has like red lights and it's a little bit more flashy. What does the light look like on this? Obviously, I'm sure there are different modes for it, but do you have an image, or can we find one that'll tell us what the lights will look like? We know what the top of it will look like, but that's not what this discussion about. The discussion is about the bottom part.
I can answer a few of those. One, the main purpose it was put there is that is the town's emergency shelter. That is the
Got it,
cooling
okay.
shelter, the warming shelter.
Okay,
It's the community building. And
good,
so it was
okay.
a good purpose there. We did have discussions with the select board of where it was
Sure.
gonna be and.
Where we hold elections,
It's there.
Yeah, okay.
hopefully.
I'm thinking.
I think it's a great place. You know,
really need
using
it.
the internet, we will still continue to do that. The
Sure.
same messages will be pushed out in all the mediums. It's just another medium to reach more
But
people.
you're,
The sign itself, we may be able to find some, but it's gonna be very similar to the TV, if you will. It's
Okay.
just lit. It doesn't have flashy lights around it.
Okay.
And whatever we put up there is what's
Right,
displayed.
because I was thinking the Canaan still has like the little bulbs, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's more like a screen.
It's
It'll-
more, okay.
This is of a quality, almost like you were looking at that screen
Okay.
right
It's like a
there.
menu board.
Okay,
yeah, but it's,
then I also
It's
wondered,
really more.
are there
Pixelated a little more, but not much.
statistics about how long messages need to, like, somebody must have counted how long, how quickly people read something, like how many seconds, the average human being needs to pick up something on a sign like that.
I didn't go there, but to address Sealy's thing with the accidents,
Right,
kind of why the zoning was put in place. There's lots of things out there saying these are dangerous.
right,
When we did the research, the the highways, the
National.
National-
Transportation
yeah.
Safety Board.
National Highway, the New Hampshire DOT, none of them are showing any statistics to back
Okay.
that up. So there's lots of research. You can research anything and find what you want it to say. But trying to go to the statistics and see what's actually happening is what we did, and we're not seeing that.
I mean, it also
It's
why
depends
am
on
I
the
seeing it?
complexity
We
of the
can find
message.
stuff that
I
says
can
it's dangerous.
find
Well,
it too.
I can clarify that for you. What National Highway Traffic Safety, New Hampshire Highway Traffic Safety, their research is saying is that what you're distracted driving is the number one reason for all crashes.
Baby crying,
and-
I mean,
and
a
things.
million things.
And what they're saying, the research you're saying is road sign, stuff on the side of the road is like one in the top 10 of the distractors. The research shows that a changing sign is no different as a distractor than the marquee sign that's already there. So that's what what we were looking at. You're absolutely right. Like you could put whatever your category you're looking for in Google or for research. I was specifically looking for, is there a correlation between an increase in car crashes for a sign that will change versus a sign that is just the marquee sign that we have now, or a billboard on the side of the road?
Well, I put up digital
We've got,
sign.
there's a sign there, Stevie,
So-
I mean,
It's a digital
Right,
sign.
and what they're saying is, and if you're driving through at regular speed, we're not talking morning traffic or afternoon traffic and stuff like that. At, at average speed, you're gonna see, I'm not a mathematician by any means, but at the count that we're initially talking about doing it is, there's gonna be one, you're not gonna be looking at 5 different flashes that come up on different things. It's yes, you could obviously be traveling through as the time changes, but it's not gonna be every 8 seconds.
right, that's what I meant about
where you're
the
like, "Did I
statistics,
miss
like
the
how
next
long does it
message?"
take people to read? And it depends on the complexity of the sign, I mean, if it says
Mhm.
stop, it's a, you read it in one thing, but if it's, little things like this and something complicated, obviously it is gonna be more distracting, that's has more to do with what
It's a
the
visual
input.
thing too.
It's more about the input that goes on it as much as the thing of the sign.
Mike,
It's a visual thing. I know with the zoning,
so
Hold on just a second.
we're setting precedents.
one point I wanna
Hold on,
make out is
Tim,
the
just a second.
Yeah.
Just, a second.
We're setting precedents. We also had heard of, sign thing before in Raphael's, and we toned that right down, right? Or do we get past that? I don't think we're past
I
it.
don't know. Thank you, Tim.
Just a regular
So-
big sign.
couple points here. One is that the current sign that's been there forever, that's on a trailer, is illegal. It's out of, that's
Yeah.
absolutely violates the ordinance. It's a portable sign. That's absolutely not allowed. We've just let it pass. And unlike Mr. Drummond, who takes his bicycle signs in at the end of every bicycle day or whatever it is, that one has been left out, and I think it's probably been there since before the Lions gave the building to the town. I think that, it's been there long as I can remember, it's been there. And it is in a state of disrepair, I wanna say. People mess with the letters and stuff like that. That is kinda, there's a couple of issues with this, and it's not just the Raphaels. We specifically told Mr. Bergeron, no light up gas station sign.
Yeah, we did.
Mr. Chair,
And we did that, and that's across the street. So I want to be real clear that we did do that, and he is in a butter. And so part of my concern here is not so much this sign, because I like the idea of the conveying the government information that's relative to safety, relative to just, here's where you vote, here's where the burn, no burn, or whatever it is, or town offices are closed this day, or things like that. But that if we start putting other stuff on that sign that's lit up, and he's got his commercial business across the street, and we said no to him, we're really within a short period of years, we're really crossing savers.
hold on.
Yeah.
I know you want to jump back in. But hold on. So that's an interesting point, Tim, and it's the one time I've seen the substantial justice test fail. We can't tell you guys, go ahead, you can do that, if we have recently told 2 other applicants, no, you can't do that. Now, you can just override us and do what you want. But if you do, that's not gonna look good.
just a point of order, though, I'd like to give you, we just updated our zoning ordinance this year to allow internally lit signs. So when we had the Raphaels in, we couldn't allow him in on the way that the zoning ordinance was worded at that time. We could not allow him to have that technology.
Same thing for the,
The current zoning ordinance as recently amended, he can have that. And this sign that they're applying for here has been purchased and will be installed. There's not a question of whether it can be installed. It meets our current zoning ordinance. What they're asking for is a variance to the planning board when they changed the
minute.
ordinance
wait a
that,
minute, did my zoning administrator just tell the chairman of the zoning board that regardless of our decision, the town is gonna go ahead and install this sign?
yeah, they're
Is that what
asking,
I understand?
so what they're
Is that
asking
what I
for,
understand?
yes, you're right,
Then
absolutely.
why are we
Then
doing it?
Then
They've
let's call
asked
this
for a
meeting.
variance.
We're out of here.
No, they've asked for a
No,
variance.
I'm gaveling the meeting closed.
No,
We're
You
done.
don't
Point
understand.
of order.
I do understand.
It's not,
It's my right to do that.
this
If
zoning,
you've come before us to waste our time, if
We're
you've
not.
already made a decision.
But it's not a
and
waste
you're
of
gonna-
time.
Can I explain? Let me just explain.
yeah,
Finish.
I
I
don't
got a
like it
couple
either.
questions still.
Well, I think that's high-handed.
we're not here asking for permission to install because zoning allows it to be installed. We're asking for a variance to allow the message to change more often than
That's what the
every
variance is
24
for.
hours.
Well, the size is also an issue. Size of it's an issue. I have a couple of questions, Mike, if I can ask, because we're here in a public hearing.
I didn't realize this was
Please.
changed.
What does this cost?
It costs the taxpayers nothing except for the power.
What does it cost?
What's the grant? How much was the grant for?
The grant was for
Okay,
27,000 paid
but
for.
but
by
it's,
the state.
it's not costing the taxpayers.
Yep.
For the $27,000 sign, which is, sounds by, I think, what I've heard is it's a really nice sign. I'll give you that. It sounds like, I mean, I've seen these things and the one in Pembroke in particular is pretty nice. But we're gonna put in a sign that's gonna attract a whole bunch of attention. Would you agree to that? That people are gonna notice this thing. They're gonna drive by and go, that's a nice damn sign. I mean,
Yeah.
I will. I know I will. I'll go, that's pretty nice. Because the one that's there is dilapidated and cruddy and falling down. It's like if you painted the roller rink really nice and people will notice, hey, that got fixed up. And so there are gonna be people that notice, for sure. And I think what we're saying here is that if we do this, and certainly the town can go ahead and do it, I think that there's certainly a question about residents being across the street. There's certainly a question about color of light, Rob. That's still on the books. Am I right?
I can read you guys the
I believe it's still on the books,
amended zoning ordinance.
but it's still supposed to be white light, isn't it?
No,
Is it?
No, they got that too?
yes,
They-
March of this year it was up there.
Okay,
So
so,
brand new,
so they
brand new
got
ordinance.
people across the street at Ann's place, and it sounds like this is all the other criteria in here is probably with regard to the ability for making it light sensitive and not overly light polluted.
So you're gonna have Route 4 looking like West Lebanon. Is what's gonna happen. Everyone's gonna come in and want signs.
so they can have internally lit signs. That's definitely.
Another
the
sub,
way
Well,
it's
that
changed.
is, that's the dumbest change I've ever heard of.
Well, that was your planning board, that,
Yeah.
there's one of them in the room.
there's.
They voted for it, but I want to say
And the
that,
town voted for it too.
no, but the planning board
No.
recommended
Well, the
it.
town doesn't
With your
read.
suggestion, I will add.
Not the town.
So,
Yeah,
so
that-
that's the
that
planning
really
board that
annoys
made the
me.
ordinance change. But I just want to point out for the record that it's gonna attract a lot of attention. I would have a whole lot easier time supporting a sign like this if I knew it was only going to be for town things. And I'd have a hell of a lot easier time supporting it if it was located right in front of the new safety
Wait, I wanna hear
complex.
that.
I just because I think that's where most of them are. They are in front of, and I understand your rationale why, but most of these signs are located in front of safety complexes. And maybe those safety complexes are the evacuation places in other towns. I don't know, but most of them that
That
I
makes
see.
sense.
I mean, and I go to a lot of police stations, right? Professionally, I go to a lot of police stations, but that's what I wanted to know is there's no taxpayer money involved in this. Because those are the kind of things people are gonna ask us. You guys voted for that, rah, 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 rah. And I'm like,
All right,
so I'll defer back to the chair. I'm all set now, Mike.
all right, I should probably remind myself and everybody else what they're asking for here. They're asking for a variance to display signs as rapidly as well, they didn't actually say, but they want to be able to change the message more frequently than the zoning ordinance would allow. And they want to be able to run the sign outside of the hours that are allowed in the zoning ordinance. Is that right?
Correct.
I have a question. What does the zoning board, could you just refresh us on that? The hours and the number of times the message can change according
Yes,
to,
every
the
24 hours
according to the
and
new?
from 10 PM to 6 AM. It's in the application that. they
Okay,
wrote.
that's the new one.
And yes,
Correct.
in the new one.
And that's the two things that they're asking for variance.
All right, so we don't have anything to say about where they're gonna put this, whether it's risky, whether it increases the danger to the public, whether it's appropriate to put a distracting sign at that terrible intersection.
Well, no, we do.
We don't have anything to say about that. All we have
No.
to say about is whether or not they can change the message more rapidly than once every 24 hours and whether they can run the sign 24/7.
No, we do have something to say.
Those-
No
that's what we
sign
have to
shall
say
be
about that.
placed in such a position as to endanger motor vehicle or pedestrian traffic or obscure or otherwise cause confusion with official highway street signs. So you absolutely, if you believe that that does cause confusion, you can determine that. That's entirely up to you. There is, I mean, we heard testimony on that. You could make that decision for
Yes.
yourself.
But we
I
can't,
think what they're asking for is to run it 24/7 and to change the message more often.
yes, that's what I just said.
But you
And we don't
can,
have any, we can say whatever we want,
yes,
but we're not in a position to deny them permission to put it up. All we can say is, dear town, please don't run the
right.
sign 24/7 and please don't change the messages more
Any
than once every
aggrieved party
24
can
hours.
appeal it.
That's right.
Micah,
But we've got another problem. I think we're gonna have another problem. Didn't Bergeron, isn't it Bergeron that bought the auto parts and he's putting in the,
Yes,
up there across from
The car wash.
yes.
across from Revision Energy? So this is something and he's the guy that owns Jake's. So
That's right.
it's gonna come
Well,
up.
he's gonna run his car wash lit up like the other car wash runs, lit up 24/7.
That's right.
They could pay their light bill or something.
Gentlemen, that's, and I know, community building, evacuation, all the rest of that stuff. I really do believe that you ought to put it downtown on Main Street
where there's less traffic.
where,
In front of the
no,
old
where the
police.
traffic is local. Because Route 4 is practically an interstate. Because the traffic goes roaring back and forth there. There's all those big trailer trucks. There's Mickey's. There's Annie's place, which is a very important place. You could continue to use the sign that's in front of the community building for events. And you could put your sign down street on Main Street where Enfield residents can see the messages. I don't give a damn about the people going through town on Route 4.
I think you got a lot more residential properties on Main Street and that the light pollution would become more of an issue than it is
Yeah.
where they're proposing that.
And I think,
But I also believe that I remember, I can only take what I heard as fact. The DOT said something like 45,000 cars a day on 4.
11 to 14,000.
Yeah, so a lot of cars go down that road and some of us drive that road just going to Jake's, going to wherever. It's not that we
Right.
are going just through, we go through there to pick up kids from school. We go,
Exactly.
there's a lot of that traffic too, but
But nobody who is over 4A Enfield Center, that whole side of town is not,
I mean,
I do.
So I don't.
I hardly ever go by
no,
that.
and the
Yeah.
ugly traffic problem there, while I have the chief's attention, has nothing to do with your sign. It has everything to do with people turning left into Jake's illegally. And there's nothing you can do about it. I respect that, other than give them crap when you see it.
Well, every time I go to Jake's.
Every
I'm
time.
doing it.
So I'll just add to the location part as far as messaging and stuff like that. Think about this, and this is gonna piggyback on what Celia was talking about. What was the main avenue that we got information out through COVID? Social media.
Right,
We got it out, social media. You said you got it on this and that.
right.
Right.
It's on all, we
Those-
get everything on
Those
the
11 to
internet.
14,000 people that drive down Route 4 every day right now. Hopefully when they're not driving, because if we catch them, we give them a ticket. We have a zero tolerance policy. But those are the same people that take those messages they see, hopefully we'll be able to see on our new board, and they put them out there too. And that's where you get your exponential information pushed out to those people that aren't traveling on Route 4. We can't, at
Right.
$27,000, we can't put, 3 or 4 of these yet. Maybe I can get a grant, more grants and put more of them
Oh,
up.
God.
But what I'm saying is that at the current, when we looked at it, when we talked as a group and we looked at it, because of that location, it's also gonna put that much more of that message getting out there, not just Yes,
I know the
there may
community
be,
building
there may
is
be
gonna want it.
2,000 people that drive from Canaan to Lebanon every day. And 200 of those people are posting on their Facebook page, that same message that they saw in Enfield. And I'm just, everybody was concerned about, well, what about the people on 4A? That is another avenue of how that information gets out there. We have multiple,
Yeah, it's a whole list.
posts every year on our Facebook page that hit over 100,000, which baffles me. But that's an example of how quick something gets pushed out there. And if you get the information out there, that's how
Then
you
why can't
continue.
you put
But
this
the
in front of
public
your new
building's gonna
thing?
be on
your new-
Route 4, right?
That would be
In 2
perfect.
years. Why can't you put it in front of the new
What?
public building?
We can look at it, but this was applied for to go in front of our
Well,
emergency
you
and
don't
cooling
need it there.
shelter.
It's the worst place to be. And
And
it's a traffic
It was-
hazard.
it was funded
That's where
to
it's
be
gonna
put
go.
there.
Yeah, so the grant
can
was
argue with them
applied
till you're
for
blue in the
based
face, but-
on,
What,
That's where it's
having it
gonna
in
go.
front of the community?
can I
building?
make one suggestion that you probably already thought of? If you put this there, for God's sakes, put a camera on it, chief. I'm just, you know me,
Well,
and
how did you
delinquents,
do
that,
that?
I'm just.
That's another whole
somebody's
project that we can talk about.
Somebody's gonna
now.
vandalize it, is what I'm worried
Ed?
about at $27,000.
I wanna know how you writ that, what, you wrote that it goes in front of the community building? How did that come about that you have to put it there? 'Cause
We
of the
wrote-
grant.
We wrote for the grant for
Right.
it to be put there because it is our emergency shelter.
And it's replacing the, whatever.
It's an emergency shelter.
It is the emergency shelter for the town and it's the warming and cooling station for the town.
It also doesn't matter.
And it will be even after the public safety bill,
Because-
because that's our
Well,
emergency
you-
operations.
The
center.
town's gonna go be in an uproar.
Because what they're asking for, you're right.
Right, so we're here to talk about something else,
Okay,
and they're already going to install it, no matter what we say.
yeah.
here.
So. Have we
Next
heard
side,
what we need? to
couple
do
sides of
first?
zoning ordinance. but
Okay,
Yeah, that's good. too.
Changes.
we can conditionally approve though, right?
There are, there are some.
I'll make a
conditions.
motion that we approve the sign permit with the caveat that only government information be put on it.
Can we add the line above?
No,
Sure.
second.
They own the building first. I think that's appropriate.
I think that's fair, and that's
Would you
pretty
keep it
much the
short?
only people that will. be
I mean,
using it.
that's the reason why is that I can just see some
Keep it short.
backlash, and I think that,
It's a public hearing.
So what?
Kurt would like to talk.
oh, Kurt, I'm sorry, you are right.
Yeah, I know him.
I didn't think you wanted to talk. Usually you would.
Really. You mentioned at the beginning, but about changing the sign or the message.
Yeah.
But I didn't quite catch how often that message is going to change. Is it multiple messages that are going rotating through?
They haven't specified in their application.
But
We
it's,
could say something about
you
that.
could say something about that, yes. No, so that's one of my questions.
I think it probably depends. doesn't it?
It depends on how many messages we have. I mean, we don't have any plans of it just going and going and going, but every so many, we 15 seconds to get through there, it's not gonna change more.
It
than
loses
gonna be.
its purpose, I
I was
think,
gonna
if you
say,
put up
if
10
you-
in.
If they're too far apart, it's like having only one sign. I mean, the thing about the existing sign is you can have 3 messages on at a time and you read it at once. The problem with a rotating sign is that, and that's why in a way it may be more distracting, because you read the first one about the chicken supper, then you're starting to read the one about, the burn situation. So I don't know, maybe that's something that bears some sort of research. Again, as I say, how much can the human brain take in a certain amount of time?
But I also, I think that what I could see is that you would have,
24/7.
That's one of my. time.
Select board
That's one of my
tonight.
time.
Tim, I'd like to let Kurt finish. So he's not got an answer because they don't have an answer to give yet, but we'll take that into consideration as
Yeah,
tacking on
it's-
charge.
Question for the board.
That's
My
great, thank you.
concerns is light
Wait,
pollution.
Susan, please. Kurt is
Um,
speaking.
The size of the physical, the ordinance specifies the physical size of everything. The frame, heights, and it sounds like you're exceeding that also. And I don't think that was mentioned in the request.
So the size-
In the CI section, it specifies
BB. CBs, okay, CB. In section
To be
C,
up to 12 feet in height from the ground level and is not to exceed 40 square feet, including the supports.
right, so that's.
So how big is the,
Yeah.
lit?
It's, 7 by 3.
Not the lit portion.
The entire thing, so
Physical.
we've got here, it's 99 by 120. So do the math,
Is it all, is
That's
it 99
okay.
all over? No.
What's that?
so.
120 is the height.
So- so
If you look at that, pull out the picture again. It's
So
not-
if you're gonna do the actual, the full sign area.
Sign. It's not sign all the way.
What is the specified?
Yeah, it's signed from the, that's what the ordinance says.
Square feet including supports, not to do.
So do the math on all those.
I don't have this.
And not to
So-
be, sorry, Kurt, what's not to, the
Well,
square
the
feet?
supports, the side, it's, if you took a tape measure and went from ear to ear,
42.
that's your square, that's your size,
Square feet of sign.
physical size.
Right, this is
Not
what,
what's,
this is what we've got here. The entire thing is this 99 by 120. So let's do the math.
yeah, I don't have a
But
calculator.
120 is from the ground to the top.
But they said the total area of the sign, including the supports. So those are,
Well, the top.
Yeah, but see, there's a space at the bottom that has nothing.
Right,
see it?
the Enfield-
but those are the
That's-
supports.
well, the
Yeah.
supports on the side.
The supports are actually,
So you go from
Posts.
outside post,
Yeah,
top post,
it's still the space.
top post, and then bottom of the.
Right, and it just hangs there. What's holding it up?
Hey,
That's
folks,
holding it up.
please. 120 square feet,
100 and,
is that right? 120
Well,
square feet?
She's measuring from the
About.
ground.
Is that the limit? Is that the limit? 120 square feet?
No, it's small.
What's
it's
the limit?
smaller. Says here, 40 square feet, including supports.
Okay, so this is 82 square feet from the ground to the very top, and it's about
And-
2/3
and as
of
the-
that
As
is
your
sign.
zoning administrator, we only count the
Yeah.
sign.
So
Okay,
you got,
So
so
it's
fine
not
is 2/3 of
from the
that?
top of the sign all the way to the bottom when there's nothing there.
Okay, answer me.
Yeah.
It's about 2/3 is sign material?
21 feet, 21 square feet of sign material, It's 7
There
foot by
you go.
3 foot.
All right, well, fine,
okay.
I mean,
easy.
that's how we add it. Yep.
The side, it has to be supported, so you have to take into account,
The
I mean,
post.
what are the posts going to be? 4 inch, 4x4s? Okay,
It's 120 inches across from the outside of the two posts, from the outside of one post to the outside of the other post. And then-
It's 99, sorry.
No, I'm sorry, 99. And then it's 7 feet from the top of the top sign to the bottom of the bottom sign. Is that what you said?
So both, if you look at the two things, so the welcome to Enfield, that's 3 foot by 7 foot. And the Watchfire is 3 foot by 7 foot each. So together, they
Oh,
be,
it's 7 feet tall. Sure.
So
well, 6 feet,
I can just do a
3,
little,
3 by 3 and 3.
so the sign is rectangle, rectangle. And then you have posts. Right, so. We only add this square area here, this square area here, and the square area up here. We don't add this void space between the sign, and we definitely don't add this void space below the sign.
Okay.
So he said, these are 3 by 7
Yes,
times 2,
yes.
plus a very nominal amount of square footage with the supports.
What do you come up with?
42 and change, is that right?
Yes.
Just
If I'm doing
so-
math right.
And what's the limit in the ordinance?
40.
40 square feet.
So,
So we're 2 square feet over.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I didn't know what the dimensions were, so that's why I was asking the question.
Yep.
And you have to have welcome to the Enfield. Not
That-
like it's a town line, that's why it should be over here.
Oh, I-
No place.
I think some kind of insignia.
You can put in your sign. Warming place. Community building.
Any more questions?
It's just gonna stick out like a sore thumb. It's just gonna be-
Any more questions, Kurt?
Yeah,
Celia,
well,
we're gonna plant flowers under it.
in the ordinance, it talks about flashing signs and rotating signs, and I think from a public's point of view, I think they're just distracting and unappealing. Now, whether it's a safety issue or not, I'm not gonna speak to that. That's not I'll let the chief do his research, and I'll take his word that it's no more distracting than texting and driving. Maybe a little less.
We know what that does.
But I think it's more of the aesthetics. These Lebanon High School, I think it is, has one of those signs, and I've seen them in a lot of other towns going down the commercial strips. It's just like beep, 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 and there's a bunch of them all in a line. And if you're trying to look at those things and drive,
That's horrific.
it's just, well, it's just in the corner of your eye. To me, they're irritating and distracting.
Yeah.
Especially multiple colors and all that fun stuff. So just a solid, one message, you're trying to get your point across, you only have a few seconds to do it. That's, I think to me, it's gonna work the best.
Is that all, Mr. Goddard?
That and, I mean, Tim mentioned, in which I fully agree, and the administrator will agree, because we think there's another sign. It's the one that's currently there is obsolete, and should.
Yeah, we have a.
Should be gone.
Yeah,
And that also.
we don't even have the letters. The letters are not under our control.
You know, what's that
But
emotion?
the physical structure. the
Correct.
Physical.
So we can't put a message up because they're
But the
letters.
physical.
Because they got stolen.
No, they have them down in the locked room in the basement.
Yes, but the physical thing is a sign.
Yeah,
I don't care if it has wheels.
Yeah.
Or rollers.
Yeah.
And if it never moves, and there's messages put on it. So that is a sign by the ordinance, and it's obsolete and should be
It will be removed.
removed.
Absolutely.
Is that all, sir?
Yeah, I believe so.
Thank you. Susan,
There's another light on the back of the Methodist church that shines right in my kitchen, so.
Susan.
Yes,
Please
but
raise
wait a
that
minute, I
no
have
to
something
material.
to
Negative.
say, and I'm gonna say,
No.
light
Susan?
pollution is a problem. I hope you will turn it off from midnight to 6 AM.
The sign?
Yeah,
You can vote. That's what we're here to vote about.
but
Last
Yeah.
question, and then we're
I
gonna go
want
to
to
Tim's
make a
motion.
question, I want to make a question and a suggestion. One, and that was about conditions, one that we set, the time. I was wondering, I mean, maybe this is dragging it out, if it would make sense, I'd feel better if I understood the sign and could see what it could do. And if there were some way we could say that they're only allowed to use, certain settings on it. It's only allowed to be, black and white. It's only, that in those conditions, we look at what the sign is and that they can only put lettering and not, photos or something. Is that something that is worth waiting to see, to understand better what kind of limits we can
Well,
make?
I think you would just describe the limits you want and
Okay.
and leave it up to the
Okay,
technologists to figure out how to.
figure it out.
those
Okay.
limits.
Which maybe
That's
we
a
do
good
that?
point, though.
You may.
Okay,
I mean, I think one of the problems here, Mike, is that they probably have a time limit on this grant to use it or lose it. I will say that my experience with some of these screen features is they can do a lot to get creative. My question is, first of all, does the Enfield Energy thing even still exist?
Energy Committee?
Do they still
Yes.
exist? Okay, I don't know. I
maybe
mean,
LED.
those are the kind of things that if leaving it on all the time is a problem, trust me, they'll be all over the town on that and be on. They will, and I think that's stuff that other entities can get involved in at a later date too. They can say, hey, this is wasteful. I also think the town probably might say, we don't need it on. Part of my concern, as I mentioned before, is if it's not on, if there's not a camera, I'm worried that it'll get vandalized. And it's an expensive sign, and I would hate to see it get vandalized and be there as like a great big glowing monument to vandalism. So do you need me to make a motion again, or?
Yeah, make your motion.
Okay, I make a motion that we approve the application with the caveat that it only have information pertaining to Town of Enfield and Alliance Club. I don't know, information from the Town of Enfield or,
Safety.
no, the
Police
Town of
department.
Enfield or the Lions Club.
Public
Well, what
service.
happened? That's
Do we
not
have a
clear
second?
enough.
Do we want to discuss that? Is the motion
So we
on the
want to
table?
have the conditions that it also be posed with conditions on the number of hours that it can be
Yes, I
on
think that's a
and
good idea.
the numbers, the colors and, you know, the
What, are
If
they
you want to
colored?
discuss the motion, we need a second. Otherwise, the
Well,
motion's
we-
gonna die.
Ah,
Not
okay.
done.
Else makes another motion.
I just,
I'll second it. so
when
we
you
can
say the
continue
town of
discussion.
Enfield,
Thank you, ma'am.
I mean, the town,
the police
town.
department,
Nope, the town, so that.
well, they'll be having everything.
No, I
It'll
meant
be
that.
the Enfield Market, will be
No.
everything what they.
No, I
they
mean
do.
government, I mean town, the town manager's office, be it
It'll
the
be everything.
town departments, no, it would have to be
Town related.
town government. Government business only, not the Enfield Farmers Market, not,
That would be town.
no,
That is
it's
the
not. That's absolutely not, it would be specifically, you know, it's the select board, the zoning board.
the town clerk for the
the
election.
town Clerk for the elections, but not, those other entities are not.
Like
actually
where the
government
election is or
bodies.
where the voting is
Yes,
and where it's.
town of Enfield government information or the Lions. Club
That's a good
information.
idea.
Those
Government
are
information.
only what anything else is going to attract a firestorm of people saying, that's not fair.
I'd like
The
to hear
Lions
town
Club,
talk.
however, gave the town that building, and I think
Yeah.
that's worthy of an exception, because
What does the town think about that?
I think town events, which unfortunately the market is a town event, a town sponsored event.
I think it's very fortunate that it is.
It
But
is?
it would have
When
to
did that
be
become a
sponsored
town
or governed by
sponsor?
the town. It's not somebody else's event that's gonna be held at the park. It would
I
only
don't
be
think it is a town event.
I didn't
is.
think
It's
it was a
ran by
town event
Recreation
either.
Department.
So then I can't.
I don't know,
can't-
I didn't think it
There
was
are
a
people
town
making
event. How many
profit from
things are a
that.
town
That's my
event?
issue. There are
This is
businesses
what's
there
going on,
making
all
money.
these things are
And that is a
happening.
different entity, and that is exactly where there's a commercial operation there. That is the problem.
Yep,
So let's be clear about that, because we wouldn't want you to feel taken.
it is gonna be, it is a commercial operation.
That's,
That's the
And that's
problem,
out.
that we have a business
That is
across the
out.
street specifically, we said no to.
Yeah.
And he's
If you
gonna
want to
be,
exempt the
Not with the
farmer's
way it's
market,
going now.
I don't want to name the farmer's market in,
I don't
I
either.
don't wanna have the Muskoma
I
funds
think
or
you
whatever
need
the
to leave
hell
the
they are.
Lions off and let
Commo-
them continue. to use
Community
that
events or this and that. I don't want to see that.
How about-
That's just
What about Old Homes Days?
Well, I question if the,
old home days.
Old
are
Home
a
Days
whole
is a
different-
town committee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a
Family
town committee that
Family
has absolutely minutes and everything else that they garner and is subject.
Right,
to all
because that
kinds of
it'll be used for everything. I can just see
So
it.
I,
Then
my,
you're gonna get people.
I
really
don't
mad.
think
Well,
this is in our.
I think we also need to get back to that. We're
Yes.
looking for the variance to change the sign.
Yep.
And the hours of use.
So I would amend, I move we amend the motion to strike the condition that only town events be posted on it.
but I withdraw my motion.
Okay. I move we approve the application as submitted with the condition that the messages can only be changed once an hour. Does that fit with your need to be able to get
Yeah,
emergency
we
information
just,
out?
the whole thing was the police department wants the
We've heard you want
space,
to
okay?
change them.
Now it's town event.
Do you
You're
have
gonna
an
get
idea of how many
everything that
messages you
happens.
want to get out in a day or how long?
I think
What are
that-
you asking for? I mean, that's a little more
It
specific.
really depends on the messages of the
Sure.
day and what we're trying to get out. I mean, on a normal day, I would say
No, you
once
get
an
it.
hour would be fine.
You don't
During an
know.
emergency
You
situation,
ruin the,
Please.
yeah.
But the grant was for a board that relates to a cooling shelter and a warming shelter. But now we're gonna use it for people that sell products and jewelry.
no town event.
Town
We're
event.
gonna sell things in the
Yes.
park.
I think it's reasonable to characterize the messages that they intend to post not as commercial advertising, but as town events. I
Yeah, but
think
you
to
heard-
characterize it as commercial advertising when we're just talking about the farmer's market is a little disingenuous. That may be one of the many messages that goes on the board.
What about
May
the
I-
recreation?
please wait. Please wait. May I ask, can multiple messages be displayed like on multiple lines? So could you have no burning, market tomorrow, active shooter at the school?
We could, it gets
Terrible
into how much
example,
in
but
your,
that
Yeah.
is
I would rather see one,
bigger.
no
message.
burning. And then a little while goes by and then it changes if we need it to.
Okay,
This
so
is
what
happening.
I'm gonna get to you, I swear to God. What I'm looking at with the once an hour thing is that you may set up a scheme of display this set of messages every, rotate every 10 seconds, but this is your cue of messaging, and don't change that more than about once an hour.
Okay.
Does that sound reasonable? I mean, does that fit?
Yeah.
I'm starting to see this as a problem now, because as you say, what if it's a fast developing situation and you're like, there's a block, the road's cut off, and then you want to say it's not, is somebody gonna say, oh, oops,
So maybe we
we
don't,
gotta wait until
Yeah.
5 to turn that off,
I
because we've
think-
done, I think
I
we need
agree.
to leave
When
it to
Oak
their
Street happened, you had
discretion.
to-
Yeah.
Can I,
Chief, please.
so a couple things I want to just kind of add in here is one is we're talking, it should be, and just because language, is very important, right? It should be, I agree with Enfield events or emergency communication, right? Because that, I know, you know what I mean? that can be
Safety of Enfield.
safety, right? And then two, I think that initially, because I obviously everybody who knows me, works with me knows I'm transparent here. If we start out with a 30-second time limit, right? We talked about that now. The message won't change any quicker than 30 seconds to start off with, right? We know that the travel corridor going through there, for most drivers, that's one message as they're going through. So it is narrowing down our distractive thing, but it also allows us to, on days that we maybe only have the chicken dinner and farmer markets Monday, that could be one thing that stays there
Right.
all day and then rotates to maybe every 30 seconds. Today's fire hazard is medium, right? Or something along that lines. But if but we also have, say we have a situation where Wells Street fire, that we have the remote capabilities of going in there and saying, this road is now closed, but we're on a time limit. It's not going to change more than every 30 seconds to whatever the message is. And I just want to reiterate to this group is that, this wasn't a one person project, when we were putting this grant together, we brought a team together, and so everybody has the best interest of Enfield, whether you feel it or not, in mind in this. And so, it from the beginning, it's been a part of all the department heads have been involved in this and had some input and some not, input in it.
That would have been good to hear at the very beginning.
Sorry.
That's all right.
But, and
Just
so,
for the future,
yes, no, I appreciate it.
if it's a group effort, tell us that.
Yeah.
I don't know that.
And so, everybody's kind of collaborated on this of what can we do to make this the best? And at the time, when we were applying for the grant and stuff like that, this was the best location for us to put this based off of group reviewing. So we have a lot of the concerns have been brought out to this table today. We've gone through and we've talked about, hey, that's why we had them bring the sign or a mock-up of what that sign, they have a truck, actually, they backed it up and it popped up right out of the big, thing, so we could see what the quality is, because we didn't want to buy a sign that, as you drove by, it was pixelated and it looked like bulbs and you had to read it and you're distracted, right? That's why we went with a high quality sign. That's why the design of the sign is if you come into Enfield, you're looking at it, you're like, not looking at a crappy old marquee sign that's run down and looks like it should be going to trash bin. It is a nice sign to represent Enfield and in the direction, and where we're going and where we're at and where we're going, but also I'm repeating myself, we've looked at all this stuff, and
I
my
think what
recommendation would
you're-
be Enfield, community and public safety messages. And let's start with a 30-second minimal, a minimal 30-second change or something in that, let's talk,
Mike, could we put in there something like with the,
Wait, please. I have a cue.
oh,
I'm
sorry,
so
sorry.
Yeah, I will tell you, Kurt actually reminded me, and it's in our ordinance. Under the hours of illumination, it says signs may be illuminated for 1 hour prior to and during hours of business operation to 1 hour after. This is the whole 6 to 10 PM thing. There is a carve out for exactly what he's been talking about and what we've been talking about. And that is nothing contained herein shall limit hours of illumination for signs that are intended to be warning signs for directional or safety purposes. So I would think, if he's got something really important going on, there's a crime or there's a flood or
Yeah.
there's a fire. I think that our regulations do allow him, as the police chief or emergency management.
I agree.
director, to let it go, so.
So I don't think you need a variance for that. I think you maybe turn off the normal, I think you turn it off normally after business hours for the regular cycling. But if you have an emergency, you light it back up. That's,
That would suit me, because I want it dark at night.
Could we say, in the hours are in the interest to be at the discretion of the public, whatever, law enforcement authorities according to the,
I don't think they
Discretion.
need it.
I don't think they
you
need
don't
any
think
of
they
that,
need
right?
it? Okay.
I think you could do it for the ordinance. You can say, you have a situation, and you should.
But you might not want to be displaying, community event announcements at 3 in the
Chicken
morning.
supper accident,
Would you have it-
active shooter, or whatever.
You may-
What
you
about
may-
Muskoma Recreation? Because that's gonna be a big entity,
But his
Well,
hours of
Mascoma-
operation for him,
huh?
24 hours a day.
Mascoma Recreation doesn't exist anymore.
It
Mr.
what?
Chairman,
It doesn't
Alright.
exist
Can
anymore.
we get,
It doesn't what?
Okay.
Exist.
Exist?
No, it's
Well,
now,
We don't
Enfield
have a motion on the table
Recreation,
at the moment.
okay?
it's now the town.
Alright.
should
But
I
they
make a
have-
motion?
They're destined to grow.
Say make a
So are
motion,
we
you say
gonna
I
hear,
don't.
well, are we gonna see
When I
soccer
hit the
today
table, when I
or
get the
soccer
floor back,
game or
I'll-
sign up
don't
for
do
soccer
soccer.
time
I'll
or
clean that up.
baseball time?
The
Are we
parents
gonna
do
see
that.
that kind of thing?
No.
Skating at the Muskoma Lake. Are we gonna see these things? This is what I'm worried
I don't think we,
Okay,
the skaters find their own way, trust me.
We'd like to move forward. If you have a relevant point to make, you're welcome to say it now, but keep it brief. Sealy,
No,
thank you. Okay, so I made a motion, nobody seconded it, it died. Madeline, would you like to make a motion?
I move that we approve the request for the digital sign with changing, or the digital sign as requested in their application.
I second. Any further discussion? All in favor? I'll hold my oath to the end.
I'm not.
I'm in favor. They can have their
I
sign.
guess if they turn it off at night.
All we're voting on here is whether they can change the message more frequently than the once every 24 hours and whether they can keep it on after hours, which they can do by ordinance.
Right.
All right,
All right,
that's what
To
we're,
keep it on after hours.
which they have the right to do under ordinance anyway, at least for emergency messaging.
Emergency
Yes, ma'am.
only, though, right?
Well, we haven't said that, but I think that's,
Then we can say that,
see.
I think
Oh, yes.
it's us.
so I'm not voting on it.
not putting on it. Would you like to amend it to say they can have it on?
I like an amendment that it be used only for emergency.
But this, they can be used after hours only
It
for
can be,
emergencies.
right, it can be used after hours only for emergencies.
I think it can be, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, the ordinance allows that.
After hours,
It's the
don't.
regulations
It's not
that
emergency,
they-
it's safety, so, I don't know. if there's a
That would be,
splitting of hairs there, yeah.
We'll be.
Can we,
judicious with that.
can we just,
Thank you.
let's have the motion be to approve their changing of the sign more frequently than every 24 hours. So they can have a variance for that one section. And let's just acknowledge that they don't need a variance for the other requests they made, because it's already in the ordinance. They're allowed to. That way you don't have to vote in favor of letting it be on
Direction
24/7.
does.
Richard, they're not chicken suppers.
Yeah,
The one that says chicken suppers are not allowed at midnight.
All right,
and for the record, I'm voting no because of the precedent. That's the only
Okay.
reason.
I get
That we voted no very firmly on Jake's and
so we have 3 in favor, all opposed. Say nay.
nay.
2 opposed. You have your variances.
Thank you.
You're very high.
we'll be watching you and you'll get lots of complaints if you're.
Sure we will.
People at home,
It'll be a nice.
Hey, Bob, I need the new
I just.
zoning ordinance.
you're
think
gonna-
many
yeah,
people will be
you're gonna-
pleasantly
Well,
surprised
you
with
know.
this stuff.
Probably.
Oh, considering what's
Because I
there.
was going
I'll
through
put
the
one up in
old.
his car.
10-minute recess. And then we'll come back with our next hearing. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Specific list of the criteria that you want me to include in the minutes that you want writing down or no?
We have some findings of fact there.
Are you still the light committee?
Well, there was no real committee, but
It was just Kurt.
yeah. Committee of one.
Do you realize there are
Kept
two
it simple.
huge sodium paper lights within 50 feet of each other?
Actually- No, it was Jeff Hinman was the light pollution guy too. Jeff most definitely is all about the light pollution.
Well, because I watched the big oak tree down by the river.
You got something for me?
The stuff on the
He,
back of the town hall is more of a concern.
he gets lit.
Oh, okay.
I use the words about.
Yeah.
There's lights that are 24/7 at the parking lot.
It used to be up there, they had a site.
It's those things.
Yeah, so at least maybe get that down. She doesn't want people signing on her network.
You know where there are nice
We have an
lights
open guest.
by the Mascoma Bank?
Okay.
And the
So-
bridge lights.
Yeah,
Honestly, somebody take drive off.
bridge lights, I don't think they interfere with. Well, you know, what started me on this is when they put that big light on the back of the police station and the back of the. And they shine
Few other things.
right at this height
Other things have gotten less.
at night,
Zoom.
and I
I
couldn't
think that's actually.
go my sink.
I think your zoning.
I yelled and screamed.
So bending all these years has kept us. It's eroding a little.
This is really a lot of power.
Yes, ma'am. Take your time.
And the other people that, yes, go down. There's a meeting.
So I got here.
And Brian was on it.
Isn't that fellow from Mickey?
Excuse me, go by.
They are better.
Pulling it out.
Yes, but one.
It's also.
Are you done?
No.
Oh.
This isn't an LED thing, it may not consume extra
It
electricity.
is, there is.
It's not being built tonight.
But just.
He's huge, right?
Someone just brought a tree down.
Yes.
Gallery, you got everybody on Brady Bunch in one square. So I thought that's one of our guys. But by pinning our screen, so you're more likely to see everybody sitting around the table on screen. So you can see the size. I think that's the solution. I'm gonna tell Lisa because I figured that out the other day. It was Susan that was complaining. She's like, oh, I see it's one dude all picking up the whole screen. Right. It's not even talking. So there's a, it's right
They
here.
lied. They
See how I
lied.
got the little skin?
They let them lie.
Right there. Yes. That's the difference. I'm gonna tell Lisa. This, she pins it. Starts up, so that our screen is thin.
No, we don't.
We stay big and then literally
Our guys might-
other people that are joining in are just little boxes across the top.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I know, we covered it. It's time
Well,
to
I have.
get it moved out as quick as possible.
Put your paperwork,
Coming in right now.
Mike, put your paperwork right back there. Let's make you ready.
Okay, thanks.
Yes. I looked at page 70, it must have been the wrong ordinance. Remember what I was talking about today?
Design, it's like a.
Or yesterday. Page 79 is all the difference.
So when Susan gets back, we'll resume.
Yep.
You can come up to the table, assume the hot seat. Wait for Susan to get back. Sure. We'll start.
You remember the fee?
Just one box of chocolates per board member, half a box. for
On the
all.
definition,
Can the recording secretary get a box of chocolates?
Yes.
Yeah, oh, yes, yes. We recording this year, this,
Yes.
Yeah.
is anybody attending?
Here we go. I'm almost there.
Brian was on for a short while in the beginning, but left, yeah. I haven't heard someone else come in.
This camera makes me look bad. Just like that.
In the yellow.
Already in those labor negotiations with the union. Didn't like focus.
We need to break down here to that.
No.
Once this is over, once everybody like turns us off. I miss it.
So,
Vice president.
Good summer.
Vice president.
it's all the learning curve. Sorry.
It's on the town website. Zoning ordinance.
You ready?
I think we're ready. Mr. Administrator, would you please read the announcement of the second hearing?
Yes. This is land use case Z 22-10-01. Mickey's 603 LLC is seeking variance relief from Enfield zoning ordinance, Article 4, Section 401.4 P to place temporary structure within 50-foot setbacks from the seasonal high water line of any river, stream, wetland, lake, or public pond. Business is located within the community business CB zoning district. The lot is 0.58 acres in size. Business and parcel are owned by Mickey's 603 LLC, Nicholas Yeager and Maria Lyman proprietors. And Nick Yeager's joining us here.
Mr. Yeager,
Hello, thank you.
before you get started, clear up a misapprehension on my part perhaps. I
Sure.
thought it was the folks who own Gazano's that had bought Mickey's.
Yeah, that's us. Yeah.
Great, okay, thank you. Not a misapprehension.
I like Casanos too.
Yeah, Gusanos was our original, that we were both in the industry, and then in 2005, we decided to go independent, and we opened up Gusanos with just my wife and I, and 8 tables, and then over time, we grew it, and we've expanded our interest. We have a business with one of our sons in Lebanon, where the Lebanon Diner used to be. It's a taqueria. So we're kind of the back end of that.
I don't know what that is.
It's Lalo's Taqueria. It's,
Still there.
It is. Sitting there.
Where is it?
Although I have to tell you that I miss the diner.
oh, sure.
I miss yelling at Karen.
Yeah.
My food isn't on time.
But now you can yell at Eddie.
Who's on time there, though?
I know.
Long mall, there, walking mall.
Oh, yeah. So that one there.
Thank you.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Okay, so what we're asking to do is, we'd like to have permission to, on our patio area, which is on the lower side of the property. In the wintertime, we'd like to continue operations in the patio by using 4 igloo structures. And these are temporary structures. They have an aluminum frame and a plastic shell. And these allow people to sit outside or, semi-outside, but they're not in the actual restaurant. So, and these would be 1 party per igloo would be the usage of those. And it just really affords people, coming, I mean, we're still in the time of COVID, even though a lot of folks, think that it's behind us, of course, there's still a lot of folks that are very concerned about dining indoors, being in close proximity. My mother's, 77 years old, and she'll go out to eat, but she much prefers to stay in a place that's not co-located with, 50 or 100 other people that she doesn't know. So these structures or temporary structures would be used for folks that want to sit outside. We also think that aside from just the health concerns that folks have, it also makes for a very nice experience that you can go in the fall or spring, or we believe also during the winter, depending on the weather, and sit in kind of a different environment. We'd like to have just inside these when we're open, have a little bit of lighting inside, but sort of like a starry night inside. And so it's just a really nice destination spot that we think will help to bring more people to Mickey's. And also, as we're probably going to rebrand in the next month or two, so the future iterations of the business, it'll just give us more of a destination for folks as well.
Will it be called Mike's?
Well, it's,
Mike's?
no.
He's Mike.
That would have gotten you a vote.
Something to consider for
No,
sure.
I've seen these with, I haven't dined at one, but they have them at Cheers in Concord.
Yeah,
And they, on their patio.
Yeah.
They're full. I mean, I think people want to go and sit in their igloo and
it's kind of cool.
I mean,
They have them in Peterborough and you have to spend $100. Your check has to
Tell him.
to eat there. Well,
Mike, your boys will eat $100 in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I've seen places that have requirements, or you can reserve it for a block of time. We won't start, I don't think we'll have a requirement at any point, but as far as financial, if we do use a reservation system, if we find that there's a desire for them at that level, then that's something we might introduce in the future, where you would reserve a block of time. But that's not our initial intent.
well, Beverly and I eat down there now because she won't go inside the restaurant and
Yeah.
it's a nice place to eat. And I have a question.
Sure.
I thought that was a seasonal creek, so it shouldn't enter into it. Isn't that a seasonal creek?
No,
No, it would enter into it.
no, it's welling. I mean, some years there's more water than others.
Now, right.
Yeah.
Well, there's no water below our banking going into the Mascoma
No,
River right now, but we're on water restrictions.
Yeah, we're very dry.
It's a 3-season creek regardless.
Yeah, it's
water in
nice
it
down
now.
there.
Yeah.
And a nice little man comes out and wipes down the tables and chairs after it rains, so we don't get so wet. And we've been eating down there, breakfast, lunch, sort of, and we like it. It's nice. And the only question I had was, isn't that a seasonal creek?
So the platform surface.
Yeah.
That they're gonna sit on, these are some kind of decking.
Well, that's the second part of our request, and that doesn't exist now, and we don't have the financial means to put that in currently.
Okay.
If we find that the patio is a successful draw, which we believe that it will be, we've expanded the patio. That was something we did earlier in the summer, and relocated it to that location. If we find that it's a reasonable draw that would be enhanced by putting some sort of decking down, we'd like permission to do that in the future. Right now, it's just a gravel surface, which is okay, and on a dry day, but if it's damp or
It's hard
inclement,
pack, right?
yeah, it's hard
Yeah,
pack.
so it's not really, it's pretty impervious now.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Rob, what's that considered in our?
As somebody who
ordinance?
uses
It's
it, it's
for
fine.
people.
Gravel is okay. We don't consider that a structure.
But
But if he does build something out of wood or,
Right.
it would, so he's sort of, if you read that warning that I gave earlier, he's basically said, we want to put structure. We haven't specifically said igloos within this 50-foot setback to the water, so it would kind of cover him for his igloos, but also for if he did want to do a wooden patio or, some kind of a more permanent.
Right, and we have no intention of putting up anything that's, like a roof structure or anything like that at all, or our only intent is to, for now, do these temporary igloos. And we would like to see those, we think they're gonna be successful. And we'd like to see them, come back every year through the late fall, winter, and then into early spring. And then we'd like permission from the future to be able to put some type of a decking down, but we're not looking to build a structure that, with walls and a roof and that type of.
All right, so I've got to ask some land use questions. Let's look 50 years down the line and say we've given this variance. Have we technically given variance to allow somebody to build a structure there?
I think the way that you word it, you could say we will allow a temporary structure. Because we did talk at
Talking
one
about
point,
the decking,
Right.
once that's. I'm aware that we have looked at decking in the past as essentially when you tell somebody they can build a deck there, you better be ready for them to extend their house and their buildings onto it.
Yeah.
And once you've done that, you kind of can't say, no, you can't build a house in that footprint. Or you can't build sheds in that footprint.
Can we say that it's not to have any vertical surface, any vertical things, that it's
Yeah.
only supposed to be horizontal, which means that they can't,
Yeah.
you
I
know,
think so.
put up anything. You could put, flower boxes if you wanted to have something, but you can't even have.
And I think that space will probably always be used for commercial, would be my guess. I mean, just based on where it is, you need that driveway in between the two
I was
in
gonna
order
say,
to
I
operate
can't
business.
imagine that they would wanna build the building back to the patio, because how would the cars get around to the parking lot?
Yeah.
He's terribly limited by the shape of his lot, and by the slope. So you gotta go, I don't see how you could do anything but go down and around and come up the other side.
Spaceships.
And
Well, I
Cars.
wasn't thinking about the building itself. I was thinking more about this being a 20-foot by 66-foot area. If we say, yeah, it's okay to put decking there. Could somebody else down the line, see that decking and say, okay, well, we've got permission to build a large storage shed back there. And then store materials in it.
so I think if you guys decide to, you could definitely put condition on what you're thinking for structure.
we're
Whether
absolutely,
it's some kind of flooring structure or.
Not worried so much about you.
no, I understand.
Does it have to have a deck?
Well, right now, we just have the hard packed gravel.
Yeah,
And so when it rains, like if you were to go out and sit there with a dog or, your kids are gonna wanna be around, the table or something like that. Like we were just at dinner tonight and one of my grandkids was underneath the table at Sawtooth, that new place in Hanover. So we're thinking that in the future, to make it a more hospitable place, we'd like something that's easy to clean and
oh, I
smooth.
hear what you're saying.
So we're not looking for like a large raised deck, just a minimal.
Be concrete pavers.
Platform.
It could be, we're
But
not
the
thinking that
pavers,
line
you've got
because.
permeability issues. It seems to me a deck is better because if it's got, gaps, then it's permeable.
Yep.
That's what we're thinking would be good. The only other thing that we've seen, we were in Boston and there was a restaurant that had a patio outside and they used a fake grass carpeting on it. I don't really love that, but that's the only other thing I can see that, would be a clean surface.
Those driveway, have you seen those driveway bricks that are open and that
Oh, yeah.
grass goes
Yeah.
through, something like that?
I
But
don't
not-
know, have you,
That would be good.
there is an idea, have you gone down to the boat launch in Orford? They got this, it's like plastic. I think it's plastic and it's filled with gravel.
Yeah,
And I don't know how you would plow it in the winter, but it's a fabulous surface. Have you seen that?
No.
No, you go down to the boat launch in Orford and their
I know what
parking
that
lot,
thing's
and
called.
I don't know how to describe it other than I think it's hexagons. And it's filled with little gravel,
Huh.
and it's smooth and it's solid.
Huh.
And they were driving you know, the great
Plastic
big
papers
boats are parked on
No,
it.
they're grid systems
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
you get, and they're various, whatever, they're various types of them. And you can get the grid system and let grass grow into it, but it makes a solid.
Huh.
You have something that, you know, can hold a vehicle and doesn't get too muddy.
Yeah, but if you put gravel in it, it's easier to clean, because it's a restaurant and they
Right.
have to keep the floor clean.
Right.
You
Sorry.
can't have grass.
Favorite restaurant in St. Louis, the Broadway Oyster Bar. Their beer garden is nothing but oyster shells.
Oh, yeah.
The whole floor. It's oyster shells.
Anyway, so,
But that's worth looking at.
yeah,
Yeah.
can we specify that it's, you know, not to have any thing over than,
Right.
you know,
12
a
inches.
railing for safety, because maybe in some places, you know, maybe it goes over 18 inches in one place and you really need to have a railing there
Sure.
or something.
We have vertical posts that are holding the stringers of lights.
Okay.
That's the only other thing that,
Well, he has
It's
to
already
have
placed.
no alcohol behind these point signs all along.
yeah, we've got those. Yeah.
Yeah, I know you do.
Yeah.
But they have to be at a certain distance, don't they?
I honestly don't know. The liquor department came out, looked at it for about 30 seconds, gave us 2 thumbs up. And left. So I guess whatever we did is
They were
far as
happy
that.
with
They
it.
were very happy, yeah.
Yeah, I'm in favor of, but I think that what we need to do is what you said. We need to say that the structures should be temporary, and you're not asking for the deck now. You would come back and ask for that another time. You know that
No.
variances go with the land.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you sell the restaurant, the variance goes with it.
Yeah, we are asking for the deck now so that way, if we do that in the spring, we can move forward with it.
Yeah.
But we're very happy if you're willing to approve that, but give us limitations to say that it's only, you know, a surface. And like you said, if there was railings required at any point, which I don't think that there would be. I think it's gonna be, you know, it'll be
That grade.
12 inches or less of decking, just based on whatever the grade allows.
Yeah, well, go look into that grid stuff.
Well, then
good
that's what
stuff.
we need to specify, that there could be appropriate.
I've got a motion written. for it.
Okay,
Sounds
let's hear it.
Before we do, I'd like to skim through the
Yeah.
application criteria, the variance criteria.
It's very well written.
Does anyone think this will be contrary to the public interest?
No.
I'm listening out of my left ear for,
No,
okay. Spirit of the ordinance is observed,
Yes,
yes,
substantial justice is done,
yeah.
yes,
the value of surrounding properties will not be diminished.
no.
If we were to literally enforce the provision of this ordinance, would it result in unnecessary hardship for the business owner?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not even sure I see a need for a variant here. I see them. That was one of the questions I wanted to ask is, are
Except for
you,
the setback.
well,
So-
even that, are you planning to dig up the ground and do construction in there? Or are you just?
No, there's a 50-foot setback.
It's the setback.
So, yeah,
They're already
This is-
in there, they're already using it.
this is one of the
Yeah.
great limitations, I think, of our ordinance, and this is it. You go to the definitions section of structure. And here's where it says, any temporary or permanently constructed, erected, or placed material or combination of materials in or upon the ground. So the igloos are placed
Okay.
on the ground,
All
the
right.
deck is
Okay.
placed on, there's no excavation required for it to be a structure.
But what we know from our experience of, as individuals, is going to that space, is that space is already in use in that fashion.
Yeah, and I will
Okay.
say,
I was gonna
Mr. Chair,
say, I thought they had to come in before.
so they came in for site plan. They did get
For that.
a amended site plan from the planning board. And
Yep.
planning board instructed us to come to you for when they want to put the igloos up or do anything more permanent than just the tables and chairs.
I mean, that's because of the creek, right?
I don't think it's actually changing the nature of the land use there. I understand that they do need a variance, but what I'm saying mitigates. I guess what I'm saying is, when I'm thinking about hardship, because they're already doing this essentially, if we said no,
we would limit the amount of time they could do it. In
Yeah.
other words, if
I would do
we're,
that.
we, by saying no, we say you could only do it 5 months out of the year. By saying yes, we allow them to use it
Yes.
the year round.
And this doesn't actually make the situation any worse for the
Yeah.
water or for the town by allowing them to proceed.
I move we grant the variance.
I would,
He's got a motion.
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
I mean, I think allowing them to use it 5 months without igloos is champ. Depends on the year, to be honest.
Well, while he's writing, if
Yes,
I was
please.
gonna put a condition on it, would be you put back that salad with the cranberries and walnuts.
We'll have good specials, I promise.
No, that salad,
That was a good one.
that was a good one, really like that salad, that salad every time.
I'll definitely keep that in mind.
All right, so I have only two findings of fact here. It's covered by gravel today and used as a seating area.
Yeah, I could see you from my.
And allowing this will not make any more impact on the land. Do we have any other findings of fact to add?
There's no fish in that creek, no, I'm kidding.
There's no fish in that creek. Celia,
I've never seen
Little dates or something, yeah. My dogs were down there swimming around in there and something was, a little minnow or something.
3
Like a monkey.
days.
All right, Celia, I won't call the vote until you're,
I just want
Ready?
to check this, RSA at, so we're not breaking that law.
okay.
Mickey's daughter was waiting tables.
Okay.
She's about 20.
I'm wondering whether if you do put a deck, we can put on your conditions, but for the water to go through it, so it would, cause then it hits the gravel and then you have that pervious, you have that filtered.
That's our intent, yeah.
Yeah, I would think you'd want that anyway, so it doesn't pool up on.
Right.
It's hard for
Ice.
plowing, it's hard for plowing
You
because
want-
I
you
looked at
want
it for my
spacing
driveway.
just so it
Just
drops
the
through.
plow
I mean,
can.
otherwise you got
grab one of the
waitresses
things
going
and
flying.
pull the thing
I
out.
don't have any
Maybe
problem
it
with
probably
the
doesn't get plowed,
igloos,
they only use it
because they are, portable, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're,
they're not
totally.
permanent.
This wouldn't get plowed.
More thing I'm worried about is
But you're right about the
Go
deck, if
flying.
somebody, if he transfers.
they'll be
gonna be
anchored.
anchored.
Yeah, they'll be
Yeah,
anchored
fix
now
it.
into the ground, but if we did a deck in the future, then they would be anchored.
You make that, the deck that, so it's not, okay. These people, God knows, they'd be
Sooner
putting
than
up an
mine,
apartment
yeah.
building on the deck. They do that around here,
I have no doubt.
Mike, we should go down there with guitars and play inside an igloo sometime.
I move we grant the application with the condition that the decking be built to pass water through to the soil and that the deck never to be developed further. And that the deck never be developed further.
Further developed.
Or that you just say any construction, whatever, it can be limited only to,
Now, that's good to what it is. If he says it's never be further developed, that works.
yeah.
I think the gravel's good
Pretty
anyway
good.
from the pavement.
Yeah,
It's kind
I start trouble.
All right,
Fix it.
I move we grant the application with the condition the decking be built to pass water through to the soil and that the deck never be further developed.
Perfect. Second,
All in favor?
All right.
All right.
you got your variance. Do I get my salad?
I'll talk to Jesse, he's our general manager out there.
Is Mickey's daughter
It's the
still
second one.
working for you?
She is back at college right now. I assume that she'll come back
I don't
for the
know.
holidays.
It was just a surprise. There she was.
Yeah.
And she said, I'm Mickey's daughter. And I said, oh, okay.
I've known them for years. I worked for them years ago when I was a kid at EBA.
Oh, God,
So
I
I
worked
got
with my old friend Pam.
Get so bent out of shape.
Pam. I worked there in, what, 1989.
Okay, Pam Leonard worked there forever.
Must be there, yeah, I don't know.
So you worked,
Yeah, minutes,
so you
were they in
definitely
the
worked
packet?
for Amanda. anyways.
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
It was Amanda, Meredith, Maureen, Charlie, Jono was in college back then,
Would you like me
Jonathan,
to print them or you want to do them
and,
next month?
it was quite a crew.
Let's just do them next month.
Okay.
As the chair, I'm moving the minutes approval to next month.
That's good.
Well,
Objection.
wait a minute, you don't have to do that because they're perfect. There is not one single typo in those minutes. All you have to do is approve them. And I would like to move that we approve them with acclamation.
I'll
Second,
second that, yeah.
Wow.
without objection.
With the rocks.
There was,
Wow, I thought my meeting back in
This is
June.
big time.
that's
This never happens, never.
Never.
the time you asked for a raise with me.
Yeah.
Honestly,
All in favor?
will you make sure that Ed hears about that? Because that has never happened.
I will.
Pre-Susan, that has never happened
Yes.
either.
Okay, so it's based on
It's
my experience of Susan's perspicacity regarding the minutes, I'm in favor of passing the minutes as
Damn right.
approving the minutes.
All right.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. All right, minutes are
Boo,
approved.
yeah.
So,
Woo-hoo.
That's awesome.
Mike, do you want comments that you asked for?
Oh,
About
yes.
Oh,
Recommendations?
We
yeah,
want
I
a
only
little
have
time
one.
tonight to just discuss that. Yeah.
yes.
You guys are all set with me?
Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Thank you very much,
Thank you
really
very much.
appreciate it.
Look forward to the rebranding.
I
It's
want
gonna be
my
coming
salary.
soon, when all of our people are done rotating vacations and such, and I'll make sure we run some type of a walnut and cranberry special.
Well, they said you were, they
can
said
put it
you
on the
were
new sign.
menu, so that'd be fine. You can just put it on the menu next to Mickey's Big Salad.
Well, our goal is to have, like, about 2/3 of it be a permanent menu, and then have a third that'll rotate based on
Excellent.
seasonality, and
Yeah, okay.
That's
Well, I always like the cranberry walnut salad. I even make it at home.
it's a good combination,
Yeah,
absolutely.
it's a really good salad.
Serve, so we know what they.
So,
What we're
someone
going-
will have to educate me on listserv, I haven't used it.
Oh.
You live in town? Oh, you
No, I
got
live in,
business.
I live in Lebanon, but yeah.
What is it, Tom?
You got a phone?
Sure.
Write my email address down and email me and I'll, or just email me now.
Yeah, because the House of Pizza
pick you up.
puts up what their specials are.
It's
Okay.
really helpful to have.
So
it
my
on
address is
there.
Mike.
Yep.
At DIEHN, right here. .net,
Got his own domain.
since 1996, baby.
That's when we look at rebranding or anything, when we looked at a name for Gusano's, first thing we did is go and search and make sure that you get that domain.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So send me an email and I'll
Yep.
send you how to.
Nobody else can.
He's the
can
real
have a name
creator
in the
now.
state of New Hampshire.
That's right.
That-
All right, thoughts about zoning ordinance changes.
Oh, God.
Would we consider this new business or old business?
This is new business.
Thank you.
I'll tell you guys that the chair of the planning board solicited our input by an email to me, and I think end of mid-September sometime. And he asked for it by August 4th, and I said this, we're not meeting until the 14th, so
I don't know what the big hurry is. You would know.
they need to get it on a
And
warrant.
It takes,
Huh?
takes a lot of time, and there's deadlines in December, end of December,
Yeah.
January, where things have to be finalized for public hearings.
So if we want to get them on the warrant for this year,
I want to know what special exceptions that you guys want to get rid of, or the variances, or
so,
that's what David.
I think they want input from us.
right, so if you have some ideas yourself right now, or if you'd like to submit them later about what you want
I
changed.
can't do that right now.
Okay,
I have two.
what are yours?
One is I'd like to see a fine schedule for people who have violated. And that is, we see all too often, and I know Kurt has seen this, people that come in
We want a fine schedule for violations.
after the fact. In other words, we say no to people frequently,
The rest of this is justification for the request.
but you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
When people who have been caught,
Does everybody agree that we would like to ask the planning board to consider
Yes.
implementing a
Yes.
fine schedule?
Absolutely.
I don't care if it's $20 a day, but something.
Something.
Well, it's specific, I mean, there's stuff in there for after the fact, well, for doing something illegal, but it's more of, they did it without asking permission first.
You got
And
it.
then come in after the fact, say, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know.
You still get fined, I think.
Yeah, but I should say, I don't think we want that to be too punitive, because we want people to come
Right.
in and do it. I mean, that's,
No, I'm thinking.
Let's just leave it at, we'd like to see a fine schedule.
Yeah, and maybe a hurtful one that is for, that we can impose, or the planning board can impose. There are times when it's egregious that people have,
Or the administrator.
or the administrator,
Yeah.
they have really willfully violated the ordinance and done it on purpose. The building inspector has gone out and told them to stop. They kept going. That it should get expensive for some of those people, and I think that we could look at that. The other thing that I would like to see clarified, because it's come up over the years, is this craziness about setback in private road versus town-owned road. Can we once and for all get that squared away? Like, because it's come up in probably 4 or 5 cases over the years where, oh no, it doesn't count because it's a private
Let me
road.
stop you for a second.
Yeah.
Is everybody here familiar with what he's talking about?
Yes. and it
No.
makes sense.
All
I
right,
mean,
let me-
as
let
a
me
general
describe very
thing,
briefly.
what?
Let me describe very briefly.
Yes.
Some people believe that on a private road, this, there are various interpretations, but one of them is that there are no setbacks required. The other is that the setback is from the center line of the road. And then yet another one is more like town owns, obviously public roads, where the setback is from the, like, I think it's, what is it, 15 feet from the center line of the road?
Different zones.
It's a 15-foot road or a 33-foot road or a,
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
it's where
it's
you
like
measure
Depot
from.
Street to 15.
Basically, it's
Where you measure from.
so it's the where you measure from problem for setbacks. And what we need is clarity in the zoning ordinance.
Mhm.
Is a private road different from a
Yes.
public road
Yes.
with respect to setbacks?
Well, my-
I have it treated differently, I've said.
Well, good, but we need that in the ordinance.
That's,
So-
that's all I'm saying is one or the
Yeah, I know
other.
exactly what you're
Make
talking
it
about.
clear.
Yeah,
It
right.
has come up. and
Robert
I've-
Deedle, when he was here, remember? Yeah. He
So I
was
think
waiting
for
for
the
somebody to
minutes,
challenge it
what
in
we'd
court,
like.
right? But
What
nobody
have
has
you
yet.
written?
The set I'm on right now says that what we need is a clarification of the zoning ordinance that a private road setback and a public road setback are the same or different.
If you just say regarding, clarification regarding the setbacks for public, for private versus public roads. Does that make
That's
sense?
good.
So, just a quick update for you, and I absolutely, I was right there with you. This came up recently. We called our municipal attorney
Mhm.
and had a nice chat with him about it. And actually, the way that we've got it written in our ordinance actually gives us a little bit more clarity that I didn't even realize until I read it to him, and he was like, oh, well, that's interesting, and it's because it says on our thing that the setback is to the lot line contiguous to a street. And so if it is a private road, there's a lot line there. And so we're sort of covered.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether it's public or private, there's a lot line there.
It says to the street, not to
Correct.
public street or private street.
It
says
doesn't
to the
say, it
street.
doesn't, yes, exactly.
Well, the
right.
definition
All right.
of a
If you
street.
own the street though, and there is no lot line and your line goes all the way out, then I don't think we can enforce that. So that's,
Cause that would mean that the road was a private
Right,
road,
but
because
that-
on your property, it's like your
No.
drive, no?
Not private road, it's the
Right of way.
location of the lot line.
yeah.
Right, but he says it's the lot lines on the other side of it.
Now, if you own the street,
Right,
Well, we've
you have
had,
to
but
own
we've had
both.
cases on a
Different from
private
private
road
road.
where
Right.
you own your lot, private road, and you own a lot on the other side of the street.
Right, but so typically those are two lots because they're
Yeah, I
divided
know.
by,
But
so there's a lot line there somewhere. Like Holly Drive is the one that
that's the
keeps coming
one.
up, right?
so we need
And those
to
are,
be,
there's lot lines.
I think we need to be referring to setbacks with respect to the lot line, which is what the ordinance does.
Yep.
So if we're careful to adhere to that language
Yep.
and stop talking about distance from the street, we can probably sidestep some of those confusions and issues.
And that's what the lawyer said after
Doesn't
many years of being exactly what you were talking about.
doesn't
He
it
said, "I
make a
think you're kind of
difference whether a private road goes 3,000 feet to one house or 3,000 feet to 140 houses? Which that guy's thinking of building.
That's a driveway, yeah.
Yeah,
That's the
Well,
difference, right?
that guy down by Mud
Tabor.
Pond Road, he says he's gonna build 140 log houses. He told me.
Oh. I know who you're talking about, Steve
Yeah.
Kovacs. Yes.
Yeah.
What's the difference that you're looking for there?
I'm not sure, she was the
The,
one making
the
the.
difference is that there's more houses on this private
Anything over
road.
3, it becomes a
You
road.
Yeah,
get-
he has to build it
because,
to the
well,
town's
but
three.
if you build all
Yeah,
these
Three's
houses,
the limit.
then you've gotta get the town to accept the road, or you have to take care of it.
Right.
So that's where the difference comes, is who takes care of the road, doesn't it?
Well, number of homes, 3 homes
Yes.
or greater, it becomes a road built to town specs, period.
I don't think in either case does it matter though, because what we're talking about is clarifying where the setbacks are on public and private. Is there a difference between where a setback is measured from in a public and a private road?
I don't think
That's
so.
what,
There's
that's
law.
what we're talking about asking the planning board.
I just would, maybe what you're saying, what I'm saying is, if planning board and you or whatever, just take a look at it and see if that language can get cleaned up. So it is,
Yes.
there's continuity across the board, so that there isn't any ambiguity.
I'll bring.
I had kind of always wondered, and I've kind of wanted to say, this is gonna be very, very strange for you all to hear. I've kind of wanted to say that I agree with Kurt, that a road is a road is a road. And it is, that's it. That it's the only simple way to look at this is it's set back from a road, because the reason to have the setback is not to have the overcrowding, is not to have all this, doesn't matter who owns the road.
Yes.
It's not that, it's so that, because it's a road, we don't want any of the traffic congestion. We don't want any of
Room
this.
for the snow to be pushed back.
And that's where the distinction that they're making comes in though, I think, is if it's more than 3 houses served by that road, then we have to consider it differently. Otherwise, it's just a driveway. And if it's a driveway on your property, I've got no business telling you how
That's
close
right.
you can build to that driveway.
Then it's basically a right of way over someone else's
Right,
property.
Holly Drive is 33 feet wide.
Well, that's how it was.
That's the right of way, that's what my deed says.
Yeah.
And, I do have a line, boundary line, but 33 feet is belongs to Holly Drive.
Right, yeah.
So we would look at that as a street, and we would talk about the property line abutting the street, and we would talk
Yes.
about setbacks from that property line.
Correct.
And we would avoid all the
And we have done
confusion
it numerous
about,
times.
yeah.
We've been forced it.
The issue came up with previous administrators trying to argue, which I disagreed with, that if it's private, it doesn't matter. It
Yep.
doesn't count.
And I don't
And
think
it's
that's
like the
ever been
ordinance
the
was very
case.
clear, no,
Yeah.
like you were saying, it's the property line.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Yep.
And even if you own on both sides of the, on property, on
Right.
both sides of the road,
Now
it's
it's still
still a
drive.
separate lot.
Right.
Okay, so we think probably the language is okay, but we would like for them to.
Just take a look at it.
Yep.
Right.
And Kurt's here, he knows what we're talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just, let's get it.
And what else did you have before I stepped out?
Any other, no, we waited for you.
Oh, okay.
I would fix the 70, the one that I've been complaining about.
Building
The
height.
35 feet, right, and where you measure it from the
Okay.
base of the house, because somebody could,
The elevation, you mean? The height?
yeah, because somebody could come in and, put a big
Oh,
mound up,
oh,
put
you
the
mean like
house on top of it.
Miklovic or whatever his name is.
Mikulonic.
Here's the envelope.
Okay.
Sorry. The Oscar goes.
It was 30 feet for the,
I think it is. I think
What?
there's already a height restriction in the.
is it 30 feet?
There is a height restriction, but from
Right.
where?
Are we done with suggestions?
We standardized that too. Remember, it was
Just give
like
us a
2.5
second.
story.
Yeah,
need
yeah,
to
we got rid of that.
No, I just had another piece of new business I wanted to.
So that was my
Wow,
concern
what I
was
gonna
one of
tell you,
hers is,
Page 79 says from the front corner of the house, but
Right, that's what we said.
so are you saying that there is an elevation restriction already?
Yes.
yes.
35 feet. We standardized it a couple of years ago. There was some ambiguity there that Kurt noticed, and we changed it. There was reference in some of the zones to multiple, those 2.5 stories,
Yeah,
2
yeah,
stories.
yeah, and some
So
of
we
them-
just said in all of our residential districts, it's 35 feet, it's standardized. And there is a way that
I don't, you don't
we
have-
do define that. You found that.
Yeah.
Want me to read that?
If you-
Building
That's what I'm
height.
talking about, because
We're,
I'm stuck.
Everything is still.
I'm trying to
existing.
follow this because I have other questions to
Yeah,
go.
let me read you the building height.
That's okay, as long as there is a height limit,
There is, yeah.
and there's also a volume limit now, right? Not for pre-existing footprints.
Yes, it's a grandfathering applies three-dimensional instead of two.
That's the
It
other.
used to
one.
just be, you
Right.
know,
I
this-
thought this would all-
but it also includes this.
What did you want to ask Susan
I
about?
want, if you
Setbacks?
go ahead and you do the setback thing, everything that exists before it passes is grandfathered.
Right,
That's all right.
That's all right?
well, it's
Well, we
what,
can't,
it's what the
can't
law
do anything
is.
about it.
Oh,
And we just want these things clarified for future hearing.
yes, we do.
Yeah.
The clearer the better.
What if you
Especially
find
if you have
something
a
to do
time
with the
schedule.
clear cutting?
I just know that we've seen some people and.
You see what my
When I
neighbor
say
did?
fine structure, I'm also
Sir,
kind of
you go
referring to people that we give a clear direction to
We just.
and then turn around and do things like put roofs over them. So that, I mean, that's,
Do you remember the house that we had on Sergeant Road and
Before we wax historical, can we, do we have any more business?
I have one more new business because I just
Go
thought of
ahead.
it. Rob,
Yes,
given that we have new owners of the former skating rink,
yes.
could you tell them what the sign ordinance is about their temporary sign that sits there talking about blades forever?
Yes,
That it's not supposed to be there?
yes.
I just thought
tried-
about it. I said, that's another
I
tow-away
was trying to
sign.
get that one removed. That one drives me crazy.
Shouldn't be there.
That one doesn't it predate the zoning ordinance?
It says get your blades ready.
No,
Is it
no,
gonna
but-
be
But it's a new owner, so
It's a
we'll try to
new
get it out
business,
of.
it's a new business. That
Gotta
should have
go.
been
it was
brought up
abandoned
when he
over
came
a
in for
year.
his-
What's it gonna be?
And I wasn't here to.
It's
gonna be a
Metal shop and a wood shop.
Oh, that's
It's a
why
new
get your
business,
blades
that's
ready.
fine.
Okay, I thought it was gonna be an ice
I'm
skate.
gonna tell him to take.
Like
it
a
out.
maker
Everybody
space?
Hates that thing.
Like you can rent
He's a
space in there?
In the past, they argued it wasn't the sign because it had wheels.
So it's not rentals.
But you're putting a message on it, it's a sign.
It's a sign. It's a portable sign. It's not a
So
sign.
he's not gonna do a maker
If you're
space.
putting a message on it, it's a sign. Someone's trying to
Although
argue.
he's supposed to
it's
have
not.
it.
It's been there since I've been here and it's always.
Oh, it's been there forever. Yeah, yeah.
And it's been through 3 different businesses now,
Yep.
Yeah.
so.
I'm not seeing constructive conversation happening here. We have the point that we would like
cares?
to address with the owner.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, well.
I just, only because we had that other thing tonight, I went, you know what? That's
Yes.
another toe
Okay.
behind sign that can leave.
great.
Yes.
Any other new business?
Is that what you call them?
No, but we will have a meeting
Yeah, trailer,
next month. I
John.
have 2 variance applications for next month too.
All right, no
What
sign
are they?
ordinance problem, sir.
Yeah,
No
but-
sign,
but
nothing
it
signed.
isn't The Bog Road, Georgia Hill Road people.
All right, unless I hear an objection, I'm gonna
Hungry.
adjourn the meeting
Yes.
to our next month.
Thank you, everybody. Nice to
All right,
see you all.
October, November 2nd,
Happy
Tuesday
fall.
of November. We're adjourned.
Excellent.
Stop
Is
the
that
recording
windy?
so we can visit.
November's Election
Like I
day.
swear a lot.
Yes.
Second Tuesday in November.